love that organizing our home not only makes it tidier, but it also makes it more functional. I have spent a lot of money over the years in an attempt to get more organized, and some choices have worked great, while others were just a waste of money. However, there are five things in our kitchen that we are still using that have been keepers, and I want to share those with you today.
Are you ready to stop the chaos, the stress, the overwhelm that's filling your life? I'm Renee Matt, and together you and I are going to build simple routines that are going to change your life. When you put these habits into practice, you're going to be able to organize your life in a way where you can be there for your family, pay off your debt, save money, your house can stay organized, you don't have to stress about what's for dinner, and you still get time for yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Routine Advantage Podcast.
I think one of the hardest things I've had to learn over the years is making sure that I'm not just organizing to organize and that I have to actually get rid of things first because it's so easy to get frustrated with a space and then feel like it's just not organized enough. And then we go and buy a bunch of bins and organizing tools and then organize all our junk and realize that we're still not using it to its fullest capacity because it's not functional. We're just organizing a mess without any like thought behind it. And that is something that I have learned over the years because I'll go out and buy all these bins. Well, then as I go through and start organizing things and I start getting rid of things, I don't end up needing all the bins that I bought. And then I end up having to figure out where to store organization bins. And it can be a really big hassle and kind of a bummer because you're wasting all this money. And not only that, like sometimes organizing things in a way where they're in bins or things like that, it just makes it less functional. So when we can not only organize it in a way that makes the space work better for us, but also keeps it tidier because it's organized, that's when you know you have like the sweet spot and that it is making life easier, not harder. I have made this mistake so many times over the years where I try and organize something and then my husband gets frustrated with it because he's like, this doesn't make any sense. It makes it harder to access certain things. And then there are other times where it just works. And these five things in our kitchen have worked and they've been working for a long time. And even if my husband was a little bit hesitant in the beginning because I tend to organize things into bins a lot, he was hesitant about some of them. And over time, like, he's like, "Okay, this actually works well." So, this is what I wanna share with you today. If you have a space where you're trying to get it organized, we have to kinda test things out sometimes. If you are organizing something in bins and it's just not working, maybe give up on the bins or figure out how to tidy up the space and make it work. Like, think about the space and how it's gonna work best, and then focus on organizing it that way because we have to make sure the space becomes more functional, not just looking pretty. So that's where I struggle. I make it look pretty, but it's not always functional and I have to keep testing it out until I get it to be more functional. So, we want it functional and organized. So, the five organization items in our kitchen that just simply work are number 1, turntable organizers. And I was hesitant to put these in at first, but I have accumulated more over time. I think we have like 4 in our kitchen now, and they're just so handy. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, uh, I got ours at Aldi and I looked on Amazon. There are some that look really, really similar on Amazon. So I might actually try and pull those into our resources on my website. So if you go to reneematt.com/resources, I will put it in the list so that you can see what I'm talking about. And like I said, I have the ones from Aldi, but these look really similar. So they're turntable organizers. They are clear acrylic, or the ones I have. You can get all different ones. The ones I have are clear acrylic and they're probably about 9 inches in diameter, and then they're probably about 3 inches high. And then underneath, it has a grippy base and it spins. So you can put it in a cabinet or you could put it in your fridge or anything like that. But then as you put things in, it just spins like a lazy Susan. So we use it for our supplements. We have a lot of supplements, and so they were getting like kind of crammed in our cupboard, and between mine and my husband's, there was just a lot of space being taken up, and then you'd have to, like, reach back and things would fall out of the cabinet because we were trying to reach back for the things in the back, and it just wasn't working super well, it was getting really frustrating. So we ended up putting our supplements in these Lazy Susans. So we actually have 2 that are filled, and we just spin them now so that we can access what we need when we need it, and it just makes it so much easier. We also use it. We store our like oil and vinegar above our stove. And again, it was the same thing. Like we have several different kinds of oil. If you have, like your coconut oil, your avocado oil, your olive oil, things like that. And then you've got, your white vinegar, your balsamic vinegar, your red wine vinegar, your white wine vinegar, like all of those different oils and vinegars we have stored above our stove. And then again, you're reaching behind trying to get access to all of these things, so we ended up putting them in one of these Lazy Susans or one of these turntable organizers. And now, like when you need something, you just spin it and then it brings what you need to the front and you just grab it. And that was the one that my husband was really like, this works. And it's really nice when you find things like that, where, like I was saying, is not only does it make the space more functional, but it also looks more organized. And then you've got a winner. So that is a huge part that is just going to stay in our kitchen long term because it works so well. We also have another of these turntable organizers in our seasonings cabinet. So we have a lot of seasonings. We do have a small kitchen. I should preface this that we have a very small kitchen. So we don't have a whole lot of cupboard or cabinet space, and we don't have a lot of counter space or anything like that. So anything that's in our kitchen has to be pretty useful, and we have to use it often. Otherwise, it's taking up space that we need for other things. So our seasonings cabinet, we go through a lot of seasonings. We like to cook, and so we have a lot of like herbs and spices on hand. So we needed a way to organize them, and we don't have enough room to do the, big layout of the pull-out drawer that has all the seasonings all super pretty and like labeled all the same. And we just don't have the space for that. I would love that, but we don't have the space for it. So we needed to come up with something else that didn't take up so much room. So we ended up putting one of these turntable organizers in that cabinet for all the ones that we use all the time. Like our most used ones, like your salts, your pepper, your garlic powder, like those are the ones that are going in the turntable because we're going to grab those every single day no matter what. And then for number 2, I'm just gonna jump right into number 2 because it kind of applies to these turntable organizers, is with the seasonings cupboard, we have small bins for our seasonings. So if you have a small kitchen and you need a smaller, compact way to organize things, this worked really well. So not only do we have the turntable for the most used items that are constantly being used, but we also have 3 little bins that hold the rest of our seasonings, and they're organized by the type. So rather than just having 3 bins where you're just like scooping through and trying to figure out what it is that you need and where it is in one of the bins, they're organized by one of the bins are herbs and seasonings that way. The second bin is all spices. And then the third bin is like the random stuff. So in like the herbs and seasonings, like obviously that's going to be more of like your parsley, your oregano, or your rosemary, those types of seasonings. And then you've got the other bin is the spices, and that's where you have like the cumin or however you say it, your red pepper, your other types of more of the spicy stuff. If you think of more of the spicy flavors, that's what we're putting in the spices bin. And then the third bin of, like, kind of the random stuff, that's where we put, like, cream of tartar and cornstarch and baking soda, like, all of those additional ones that you just don't really know where to put them, those go in the third bin. So that's how we have organized it, and that has worked really well because if you're looking to season up a spaghetti sauce, then I know that I need to go to the herbs bin because pretty much everything I need is going to be right in there. And then I can sort through what I need. If I need something with a little more spice and a little more kick, then I know I can go to my spice bin and it's going to be in that bin. And that's just been a simple way to organize it when you have a small kitchen space, but you use a lot of herbs and spices and seasonings. And then number three is adjustable dividers for lid organization for our food storage containers. Now, I said we had a small kitchen, but we do have a couple big drawers in one section. And we used to have our food storage containers, like your Tupperware or like your glass containers, things like that. We used to organize these in our cupboard so that we would stack them up and then we would have like a little bin for lids. And more often than not, it was just a disaster. Like, no matter what you were doing, it would always just get crammed in there, and then you'd open the cupboard, and, like, those memes of all of your food storage containers falling out of the cupboard was real life for us. It was so frustrating, and I still get frustrated just thinking about it because it was a nightmare all the time, and then you'd be unloading the dishwasher, and it's like, "Oh, I need to figure out how to restack these and fit them back into the cupboard," and it was just annoying. So as I was cleaning out our kitchen at one point, I decided to open up one of the big drawers. And I knew it was going to be a nightmare to keep organized if I didn't have a plan. So I ended up buying these adjustable dividers to organize the lids. And then I was able to stack the containers beside it. So we have these big, deep drawers, and I have all of the lids in the center because that's just the way that it worked. And all the lids are stacked in the center. And so they get organized right in the center. And then all of the bins and containers go on either side of it. And they just stack up in the size that they are. And it has been streamlined ever since. And we never get frustrated with our food storage containers anymore because it all fits in this big drawer and it's all organized all the time and it just works so well. So if we ever move, this is what I want to make sure. Like I really want to make sure we have a good spot for our food storage containers. And so I'm really hoping our future home has a big drawer like this because it just works so well. Even if we didn't have a big drawer, like you would still probably be able to do the lid organizer and just turn it horizontally in a cabinet and then stack everything up on the other side of it. So that would work as well. But the way that it's set up with a big drawer, if you have access to a big kitchen drawer, like that works really well. And then number four is a bin for attachments. So we have a clear acrylic bin. You wouldn't have to do a clear acrylic, but that's what we have. We have a big bin next to our blender, and it holds all of our blender and food processor attachments and the cups that come with the blender and all of those things that get a little bit messy. They are all in this bin, and we end up storing it a little bit higher in our kitchen, so it's on the top shelf of our cabinet. So I used to have to, like, reach back and try and find the cup, and it was just, like, frustrating to reach for it, and then they would all topple down because you're reaching too far, and it would just knock some of the other ones over, and we don't have to deal with that anymore. So I can store it high out of the way because it's used a little bit less often than other things. So I can store the blender up, and then we've got the bin. So all of those attachments, I just pull the bin down, grab what I need, and put the bin back up, and we're good to go. So if you have anything being stored high, or you want to store it high, but it has too many attachments that are just too chaotic to store high, put them in a bin, and then it's easier to slide them in and out and keep those things a little bit higher out of reach so the things you use more often can be more at eye level for you. And then number 5 is a bin in the freezer. And this one, again, my husband was super hesitant about this one because he's like, "I don't like extra things in the freezer." But this one has been super helpful because it stores the loose items. So obviously you have to kind of accommodate your freezer. If you don't have a really big freezer, you have to have a little bit smaller bin. And we do not have a big freezer, so we just have a little smaller bin, and anything that can get stacked gets gets stacked outside of the bin, but the bin holds like the loose bagged items. So this is really great. We make smoothies, like fruit smoothies. So a lot of those fruits come in bags. And so rather than trying to like squish it all in the freezer and make it all fit, because we have a stand-up freezer, and rather than trying to make it all fit and then having it freeze and then just slide out of the freezer and like hit your toe or something, because that's happened more than once. You put it in the bin, and then again, it just holds everything. And when you need something, you just slide the bin out, grab what you need, and you slide it back in. So it kind of works like a drawer for your stand up freezer if you have a stand up and you don't have the drawer freezer. So, those are the 5 things that have been working super well for us, and it just is a way to stay organized, but keep things working even better, so it just has a really smooth flow in our kitchen, and I don't see us getting rid of these 5 things anytime soon because they just work so well for us. So, I will quickly recap those for you, and like I said, I will go into are on my website and add links to the turntable organizer that I had found. And I think we got our adjustable divider on Amazon as well. So I think I could probably link both of those for you. But you do not have to have the same ones that I have because you have to see what works best in your space. So I'll provide those, but just keep in mind that if you think about your space and how it functions and what would help make it function a little bit better and also stay more organized, that's what you're looking for. So find what works best for you and test it. And if it doesn't work, feel free to tweak it because we sometimes we need to change what we originally did to make things continue to improve. So, a quick recap of those 5 organization items in our kitchen that simply work is number 1, the turntable organizers or the clear acrylic lazy susans. Number 2 is small bins for seasonings, and I have 3 set up in our cupboard, which is holding herbs, spices, and then the random items. And then number 3 is an adjustable divider for lid organization for food storage containers. Number 4 is a clear acrylic bin for our blender attachments and cups, and then we can store them high. And number 5 is a bin in the freezer for all those loose bagged items, like the fruit for your smoothies. So I hope you enjoyed that episode, and I will catch you right back here on Monday when we are back for another episode.
Did you love that episode or learn something useful? If so, would you do me a huge favor? My goal is to grow this podcast and help as many women as I can break free from the overwhelm so they can truly enjoy their life. The best way for me to do this is for you to leave a 5-star written review on your podcast app and to share this episode with a friend or in your Instagram stories. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.